It's kind of like Jurassic Park out there. I mean, it's pretty wild.
By Jurassic Park, you mean like uninhabited, or Jurassic Park like there's velociraptors?
Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris.
And on today's episode, we are going to do a Otillio Catalina course preview with the Swimrun Monks.
They're a team out of San Diego. Sean and Phillip, we had a great chat with them. Stay tuned to listen to that later in the show.
Yes, but first we just wanted to give a sincere thank you and a high five to all of our fans for listening and reaching out with all the questions and engaging with us on Instagram and sending the emails and all that stuff. I mean, I'm honestly super surprised by the amount of responses and feedback we've been getting, and it's just really cool to see the community take us in so kind.
And a big caveat to that, I'm super stoked that people are reaching out and finding some value in the podcast, but you know, we're not claiming to have all the answers, everybody. We'll answer the best we can. There's people way more experienced than us, but we're happy to try to answer all your questions. We're going to be putting some stuff on the website that will hopefully help folks out. You want to talk about that, Chipper?
Yes, so we're adding content to our website, as you might imagine, lowtideboys.com. We have a new post out, how to qualify for the Ötillö World Championships, the Swimrun World Championships. And then we're going to be dropping a little bit bigger piece of content, which is kind of the Low Tide Boyz Swimrun Gear guide or buyer's guide for swimrun type of thing, where Chris and I will go through all quote-unquote essential swimrun gear. What wetsuit is Chris wearing? What buoy does he use? How come? And goggles. And then the same for me. And then we'll go through and kind of touch on a few other things. You know, we also do a lot of trail running and ultra marathon, so touch on some of that stuff, you know, headphones, all sort of kind of recommendations like that. And that will kind of address a lot of the questions that we're getting, we feel, which is what shoes are best and what are you testing out? So we're going to have what we're currently using and what we're sort of testing area of this page, including like this weekend, we did our first swim run specific training. And I took the opportunity, as you may have seen in the Instagram stories, to test out the Hoka One Speed Goat, Evo Speed Goat. Thought those went well. So make sure to check out lowtideboys.com for those upcoming posts, and we'll drop those on our Instagram as well.
I'd also like to thank a couple super fans.
Swede super
I dare say that we already have a couple super fans. Pepe and Florian from Sweden. They've been following us since the beginning, really supportive, which we really appreciate. At this point, they're unofficial Swedish pronunciation coaches and meme suggesters. So thank you guys for listening. It really means a lot to us, and we look forward to meeting you at some point.
At some point, yes. So let's get into our training.
Training.
How's training been going? Well, if I don't know if you could tell, but I got a little niggle. I got a little sickness. Chris's house had some sickness, and it made it to basically the town that Chris and I live in. All the kids are sick.
Yes, all of Novato, California's children are sick.
Just a blanket statement. It's true.
I think everyone's going to be okay, but they're all sick. Our two daughters go to the same preschool, and that's like an incubator for coughs and who knows what.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been happening. I've also been traveling a lot for work, so it's been really it's been challenging to try to find pools to swim in, and you know, I've been eating in my favorite restaurant, which is great. Room service.
Oh,
it's my favorite.
I was like,
I love it.
I don't remember you talking about this.
I love room
think one
service.
thing that Chris does well is when he's traveling, he always tries to get in something for the day. You know, if it's you had a long day at a conference for work, just come back, run 5K, just get something in, and that's better than doing nothing. And I think, you know, especially for the time-starved parent or athlete, I think that's a really good thing of something is better than nothing, and kind of the consistency. You know, 4 or 5 5K runs kind of adds up over the course of a week, and then by the time you're back home the weekend, you can get a 20, 25, 30-mile weekend there just by being consistent.
Yeah, and it definitely helped. I dare I say that we're each other's accountability partners, so I always want to make sure I'm doing something so I'm not feeling like the weakest link in the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and one thing that we were really excited to do on Super Bowl Sunday, we went out to Aquatic Park in San Francisco with our swimrun suits and all of our stuff to train, and we were doing some specific training. And we did the Facebook Live for everyone, so hopefully everybody kind of enjoyed that glimpse in. And if you're liking those or not, let us know, and we'll continue to do them or not.
Yeah, feel free to tell
you.
Chipper that he goes on that stuff.
Yeah, I was really being a blowhard. Yeah, so we got in, and it was cold. The water was cold.
You were being kind of a pansy.
I don't know.
I mean, it was cold.
It was like 52.
It was cold. It was interesting as
which
well.
Which is 11. I did the calculation. It's 11.
Yeah, so it probably took us like 10 minutes to get all ready to go in, and then another 10 minutes to work up the courage to get in the water.
It took me 15.
It was pretty cold, and it was a really interesting day because the water was relatively calm, but there was a storm coming in.
Yeah.
So towards the end, the cove where we swim in was getting choppier and more interesting.
And every pass we did or every swim pass we did, I felt more and more confident. And we did the first two without the tether, and then we ended up putting the tether on just to get a good sense of what that's like again. And so it was about a 500-meter swim, and then we would get out and run a mile.
Yeah, we did that. We did that 4 times.
A couple times.
Four swims and 4 runs. The last run we cut it a little bit short because we just ran straight to the car.
Right to the car.
Which is
we got donuts.
You know how it is. Dynamo Donuts in San Francisco. If you haven't tried them, you should. Shameless plug for them.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I remember talking to you when we're running on this pier. Whenever we've been out there training, we've always only been the only people running in our wetsuits.
Only the swim, yeah.
And we get all the looks. We've mentioned this before. There's basically 3 types of people who see you out there. They're just like, who the freak are these jamokes, right? Or, or people think we're Navy SEALs or I don't know what. If someone else is in a wetsuit, they're asking what you're up to. But I remember thinking, as the sport continues to grow, what's it going to be like when we're out there training and we see like another team out there? So if you're in the Bay Area, hit us up.
There was somebody that's in Tiburon,
yep,
which is just a little bit south of where we are, that we might try to connect up with. And yeah, we were in the water, and there was a big. The Dolphin Club and the South End Rowing Club are both around that area. Right. There must have been they swam in from Alcatraz or something, and somebody was in the water, and we had swam out to the first buoy, and we were about to kind of turn it on and start heading out. And this guy looks up and he goes, "I have never seen that in my life. Swimming with tennis shoes on." And I'm like, well, it's called Swimrun, sir. And I just swam off.
And you're being kind of moody then, so I think you were just like,
I was being a dick to him.
It's like, there you go. I forget what I was busy trying to warm up. So but it was good. I felt really good to finally be out there and doing it, putting on the wetsuits, and it's such a different experience than swimming in the pool. So
I did feel that our long course pool training was really paying off. Felt like I had much more stamina for those longer swim.
I was using the big boy paddles as well, I think that's going to work out for the race. We're very excited for Catalina, which is a perfect segue to our interview this week.
Yeah, so this week we chatted with Sean and Phillip from the San Diego area, and they actually helped the Ötillö folks design and test this course for Ötillio Catalina. So it was really quite the honor to have them on and to hear firsthand, as they've done the course a few times already, or parts of the course, and give us their intimate knowledge and details about it. And they also talked a little bit of gear selection, which I feel is always interesting to hear how teams do things or how certain people like different bits of gear.
Definitely. I mean, first, they were just really cool guys, so I'm glad they took the time to be on the show. But it was interesting just hearing about, it seems like a lot of people in the sport are just sort of iterating as they go along, testing things, what works, what doesn't work. They had some really interesting points, which you'll listen on in the interview that's coming up. But it was it was great to have them, and I think everyone's going to enjoy the interview.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to grabbing a beer with them when we're down in Catalina. But I think now we're officially 23 days. What's that, like 3 weeks away? Ish, or when the time this episode drops, we will be closer to 2 weeks away from Ötillö Catalina. So, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be there, drop us a note on our Instagram, or send us an email to lowtideboys@gmail.com, and we'll make an effort to get out there. We'll be on the island starting on Saturday.
Yes, and we'll be Instagram living stuff. We'll be interviewing teams on the fly. We'll be doing a lot of fun stuff. We might even try to find a location to do like an after party.
Yeah.
We won't be paying for anyone's drinks, but we'll be convening. How about
Yeah.
that? Because it'd be great to meet everybody and have some fun after the race before everyone passes out.
Absolutely. And with that, enjoy the interview with Sean and Phillip from the Swimrun Monks on the Otillio Catalina course preview.
So with us today, we have the Swimrun Monks. They're a team out of San Diego, California. We have Phillip and Sean. Phillip was born in Russia, moved to San Diego in 92. Was first introduced to swimrun in 2018. His first swimrun with his partner Sean was Casco Bay in 2019. Sean grew up in South Africa, played competitive tennis growing up, even got a tennis scholarship to University of Nebraska. That's pretty badass. And then moved to San Diego in 2015. And in 2017, he started doing some swim runs. Seems like a typical story, being introduced to the sport by Andy Hewitt.
Yeah.
It was kind of all over the place. And his first race was 1,000 Lakes in Germany in 2017, which sounds like that race just looks amazing. And obviously he was hooked after that. Sean and Phillip are ranked number 5 swimrun team in the U.S., which is pretty awesome. And this year they have a stacked schedule. They're going to Catalina, they're going to Ötillö, they're doing the World Championships, and then a couple of the Odyssey swim runs at the end of the year. So
Nice.
welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Thank you.
So who's Monk 1 and who's Monk 2?
I'm Monk 1 and Phil's Monk 2. Not sure how that became, but that's just how we're rolling on Instagram these
I guess
days.
that makes sense. Sean, you did it first, so that makes you number 1, right?
Yeah. Phil definitely caught up quickly. I mean, he's definitely leading ahead of me on the trails these days.
Nice.
But Sean's a better swimmer, so he always leads the swims. But
Gotcha.
we're always trying to adjust our strategies.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely ask you. We'll have some questions about that a little down in the show. But, we really want to hear about sort of how did you both discover swimrun and sort of find each other, become partners? Like, how did that story play
Origin
out?
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean,
So
go first.
yeah. So I found Swimrun. I moved back to the US in 2015 for a job to come around the West Coast for a wine company. And as soon as I came out here, I've always been into adventure and surfing, the ocean, loved, anything in nature, and hooked up with Andy Hewitt and Sean Durkin, who were doing this crazy thing called Swimrun in sort of 2016. And they invited me along for a few trainings. And, as soon as I'd done one with them, I was hooked, by the sort of community, the adventure, the camaraderie, breakfast afterwards, just sort of, the whole sport and what it was all about. So I ended up doing a few races in California, I think pretty similar to the races that you guys did. And then did my first race at 1,000 Lakes in Germany, which was awesome. So then, I've been pretty much doing it since 2016. And then Phil and I, I had my old partner, Joe Graves. We did a bunch of races together, did the World Championship. And he ended up having, similar story to you guys, ended up having kids and just can't put the time in. And Phil subbed in a good way for Joe. And we've been partners, since beginning of last year. I've been training together most days and did the World Championship. And had a great adventure.
Awesome. And so Phil donned the robes. Phil, what's your backstory there?
So my story is, I didn't come from the, triathlon. Me, I used to kind of just run on my own, bike on my own, trails on my own. And so was doing this kind of like group workout for many years called November Project. They have different tribes
Sure.
kind of in chapters all around the world. And got introduced to Sean Durkin, Andy Hewitt, and kind of we did stairs together on Tuesdays, and kind of slowly. Then just one day, Durkin was like, "Hey, do you want to come swim run?" And I mentioned running, biking, and trails. I was not a swimmer, period. Not a swimmer, not really interested in it. I grew up kind of near the water, but I would kind of surf and kind of boogie board and in school, but never was not a swimmer. So I was like, let's do it. Let's try it. Why not? So we kind of ran a little bit. We jumped in the water. We swam. I was way behind. It was cold. And then we started running again, and it right there, it kind of hit me. I was like, wow, this is actually pretty fun, you know, because you're running, you get hot, you swim, you get cold, and you kind of go vice versa. But not good at swimming at all. So it really kind of took me about a year before I even, you know, thought about doing swim run and doing races. And so me, Sean, Andy, and Durkin would kind of, you know, work out in 18, and then slowly in 19, I thought I was ready for some races. So that's how kind of I got into it, is because of those guys and just, you know, just the level of the sport as far as, you know, switching back and forth.
Well, it sounds like you picked up swimming pretty quickly, you know, with...
Well, I took a full year. I mean, you know, I think I could have, you know, put in some more work, but now me and Sean are really kind of, you know, more serious. We're going to the pool, you know, 2-3 times a week, trying to work on our form, our speed. So doing a little bit, maybe not as much open water as we used to, but I think we're kind of, you know, tuning our, you know, skills in the water. So, yeah.
And you both have Catalina on the schedule here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we've got Catalina coming up, which we're really excited about. We've spent a lot of time helping Andy and Sean sort of, you know, help promote the race and organize it. We've been there since the beginning with, you know, mapping out the course, and
awesome.
You know, really excited. I mean, it's a beautiful island, crystal clear waters, great trail system, just great, you know, people on the island. It's going to be, we're really excited about the race, and, you know, would definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to try out Swimrun. It's going to be a great vibe.
Yeah, for sure. We're super stoked on it, and it'll be our first Ötillö race. So what do you see as the difference between a quote unquote, you know, maybe Odyssey Swimrun or even the Swimrun California race and some of the Ötillö races in Europe?
I think the Ötillö races, you know, since they pretty much founded the sport, they've definitely got a little more serious of a feel. You know, you definitely get, since the races are in Europe, much more European, so you get a much more European kind of feel. And Odyssey races are also, you know, really well organized, and they've gone from strength to strength. So this will be nice to have an Ötillö race in the US. Just sort of solidifies the sport in the US, because we've never had a race, you know, so far. So that'll be really good.
So when you guys mentioned that you were sort of pivotal in helping organize, like, can you love to get a little bit more detail as to, do you guys help get permits or convince Ötillö to like host a race in the U.S.? Like, what happened?
So Andy Hewitt is kind of the master, you know, mind behind the whole thing, as far as like you know, because you mentioned permits, and there's a lot involved with that, because you got LA County, you got the Catalina Island, the Catalina, you know, Island Company. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts there. So Andy was kind of more like paperwork, more kind of, you know, red tape. And then he also, you know, invited me and Sean a few times out to the island to map the course. Like you know, the course has changed. You know, what you guys going to race in, you know, beginning of March, end of February is not the course that was, you know, we were practicing maybe a year and a half ago. Between the four of us, me, Sean, Andy, and another swimrun person that we work out with him is Caroline. We actually went from Two Harbors all the way to Avalon. And so that was going to be the original courses, that we're going to go from one end of the island to the other side.
That would have been pretty cool.
But because of kind of, and, you know, but just because of kind of the, I mean, it's kind of like Jurassic Park out there. I mean, it's pretty wild, kind of in the middle of the island. You know, there's not a lot of people that just kind of hang out there. There's really no trash. So it's really kind of like untouched in some areas. And so the course was going to go through there. And it just, the suites came out, and we kind of looked at everything. And so we kind of kept changing it. And so now it has involved in staying in Two Harbors, just because it's a little more friendly with the trails and the swimming and everything.
So I have a question that I'm sure our listeners, so by Jurassic Park, you mean like uninhabited, or Jurassic Park like there's velociraptors? Like,
or both? Is there both?
Or both?
Definitely.
Or both.
I think it's
definitely
untouched. Yeah.
Untouched.
Sure.
Okay.
Some bushwhacking will have to be done.
It's definitely a raw. I mean, you know, Phil mentioned about that day when we went from Two Harbors to Avalon. We ended up getting pretty lost, and it took us like 11. I think it was like 11 hours, Phil. Like
oh,
11
Jesus!
hours.
Yep.
It's a big day.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up doing what was it, like nearly 50 miles.
Whoa.
So we
but
like
that was,
sort of
but
like
we tried that course
championship
before.
distance.
Yeah.
We finished in the
Exactly.
dark. We were, I mean, water was freezing. It was, was quite an experience.
We were broken.
Wow,
Love
that
it.
almost sounds like the
We're
first
broken.
Ötillö, where the four guys in the drunk bar.
Yeah, 30-something hours to finish it or whatever.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
there's actually a funny photo in there's like a little bar in Two Harbors, and there's a photo
Reef
which
bar.
says the original four, and it's the original four that swam and ran from Two Harbors to Catalina, because we don't know anyone else who's done that yet, so we call ourselves the original four.
Hey,
Nice.
that's amazing.
But there's wild animals there. There's wild animals on, there's buffalo, and so they're just roaming around. There is a deer. We've seen deer, so
Catalina
there'll be
fox.
times where, so, athletes will see deer like on some of the fire roads and other things, and it's pretty exciting. Yeah, you see road runners, but bison might be out, and they're just roaming around. So they're pretty friendly. They're not going to charge anyone, but they are going to be out there. There's times where you're going to run right by one.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, for listeners who don't know, bison are very docile. They're just chill.
They look fierce.
They're just chill.
They're hairy and they got horns and shit, but they won't do much.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as far as the course, like what sort of water temperatures should we be expecting in early March? And then you said the terrain, some of it's pretty raw, but if you had to give a pretty generous ballpark, is it 30% fire road, 40% raw and pavement, or how would you kind of divvy that up?
No pavement. The whole Two Harbors has no pavement. It's kind of like, did you guys know the one race that just happened here recently, the North Face Endurance Challenge?
Oh, we're very familiar with that
Oh,
race.
in San Francisco?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I just did that race. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I did. Which one did you do, Phil?
I did the 50K.
Nice.
Yeah. I was a little bit broken. My leg was hurting. It took me a little bit. But just imagine kind of, maybe halfway into the course, how it was kind of like fire roads, and we're running, down and then up, over the fog.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that.
Exactly. I know exactly
There's
what
some
you mean.
kind of single trail, but it's mostly kind of like that.
Okay.
Then obviously, then to get down to the water, there'd be fairly technical kind of rocks and, single trail. And then most of the swims are going to be kind of on like little, pebbles and rocks as far as like when you get in the water.
Yeah, totally. I know exactly. You're talking about Pirates Cove when you're coming out of Tennessee Valley up and over.
We're spoiled that we get to run those trails every weekend. So
Yeah.
Yeah, those are amazing
we're
trails.
spoiled.
In terms of
they are.
the technicality, it's not there's like a decent amount of single track, nice sort of trail running, but there are quite a few sort of fire roads. But the fire roads are really cool because the views, there's places where you can see both sides of the island, the ocean on either side,
awesome.
the sun's coming up. I mean, it's pretty magical. And then the water out there is really clean. Often the Pacific isn't that clean.
No.
We spend a lot of time in the water here, and it sort of oscillates between sort of murky and some days clean. But Catalina's always really, really clean, beautiful water. And I would say the water temperature will be around 60. So it's fresh, but it's not too cold. It's definitely, after running up the hills and down the trails, it feels really good. I mean,
Yeah, don't forget there's some elevation, so you're going to be high. You're going to be probably dropping the suit, maybe walking a little bit, so you're going to get plenty of.
Well, for us, there's no maybe on the walking.
Yeah, we're hiking for sure.
We'll be doing some hiking. So I think that's a good thing. That's a good segue to ask, sort of like, so for a race like this, the strategy would be, on the longer runs, probably want to, take the top of the suit off, take your swim cap off, kind of get into sort of like a running mode.
Because the longest run's 10Ks, right?
I got it right here. Let me take a look here.
Or it's
The
about
longest
9.5 or
is,
so for the World Championship.
7K.
distance. Okay.
7K, yeah, 7K. That's the longest run.
And then is there one big
There's a
climb, or all the trails are pretty
There is.
rolling?
There is pretty much kind of a little bit halfway through. There is a huge climb. And that's when you probably have to drop the suits, because we already did a practice course here with a few people to kind of because the Swedes really wanted us to do kind of like a practice course with our gear and everything, and kind of get times and everything.
Yeah.
We had a few different teams, fast teams, slow teams, kind of beginners.
Nice.
And so we figured out that pretty much, yeah, like halfway through, there's a big climb. I want to say it's 1,000 plus elevation, if
Solid.
not more. And yeah, I definitely recommend to drop the suit there. That's the only time I thought was to drop the suit. So yeah.
Yeah, and also I definitely recommend not to burn yourself out too early, because the course, you start going up really quickly. I mean, you basically start on an uphill, and it's easy to, you energize, your adrenaline's pumping, but you get into the red zone, like we've learned in these races, if you get in the red zone too early, it becomes a really long day. So you've got to, sometimes when you're going up those hills, we call it walking with purpose, where it's like it's pretty fast walk, but just keep that heart rate, don't get it into the red zone too much in the first half of the race. As you sort of get to the last third or last quarter, that's when you can really gear it up and throw it all out there. But early on, it's dangerous to do that.
No, I would say just empty the tank, towards the end. Yeah. Because I definitely, like you start some of these races and you're like, oh, there's this guy, like I passed him at the beginning, but it's like, you got to just, play it cool and just, check out the energy and see how you and your partner are feeling. Sometimes someone might be leading, and someone's like, hey, I'm tired, take over type of thing. So yeah, got to pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
actually...
And I think one of the big things is communicating with your partner, because the thing about swimrun is you very rarely feel really good at the same time. There's normally always one person that doesn't feel that great, and that's when you got to communicate and say, hey buddy, just mind backing off a bit, or let's slow it down a bit. And it's very easy. The guy who feels good often is like, let's go. But if you kill one of your, if you destroy your partner, you're gonna suffer as a team. So it's trying to keep that communication open and be like, listen, I need to back off a bit, or let's hit it.
That's so funny because, usually with Chipper and me, I'm like off the gate, I usually just want to take off, like I'm all amped up or whatever, and then I'll fade, and then Chipper will sort of clean it up at the end. But I think an important thing that we've already, our show's super young, but people are already reaching out to us asking about partner selection, how important that is. It sounds like Sean, you've had a couple partners. Can you give some insight into what people should be looking for in sort of partner selection, or even like where is a good place to find a partner?
The solo category is also good for the growth of the sport too.
For sure.
In my opinion.
But I think to really experience it is to do it with a partner. So can you just give us a little history as to what was your story?
Yeah. So good question. Choosing your partner is huge, and a lot of teams have asked us this when you go to races, how the partnership works. And I think one of the big things is, finding someone at a similar level to you that's has the same commitment. Because often you can find someone, maybe you both similar fitness, but the one person can put in 12 hours a week, the other person can put in 3 because of his family life or job. So first of all, like, when you do find your partners, speaking about that early on, because it can cause friction, in terms of, how well you want to do, how hard you want to train. And then the other big thing I think is training together. We've met a lot of teams at the races who they live across the country, and then they've come together just for a race. And swimrun takes a lot of practice in terms of your gear, communication, how you work out together. And if you've never done that, even if you're both great athletes, it can, like we've seen teams break down on the courses, start arguing with each other. So it's very important to actually to do some practices together and actually, try it out, test out the relationship. And then I think, it's also about, you've got to think of your partner. You can't be, so sort of self-centered where you just want to push when you feel great. You've got to always, think about how they're feeling. Are they injured? Is their knee hurting? It's that sort of dynamic back and forth. Phil, on the World Championship, after the pig swim, I was absolutely exhausted. And then you have to do the 20K run on Orno Island.
Yeah. Man, I've heard stories about that 20K run off Pig Island. And that's about a 45 miles total running in that World Championship race?
Yeah.
Yep.
And 10Ks of swimming?
That island breaks you because it's like 2/3 of the way through the race.
Oh.
And you've finished, pig swim, which is a tough swim with the currents, and then you hit Orno, and it's basically a half marathon.
Yeah.
Oof.
In the middle of the day when it's hot.
And I knew that I had to step up, so I just said I knew I was gonna kind of Sean's gonna push on the pig swim, and I said I'm gonna take over on the Orno Island. I go, well, I'm gonna pull you, just hold on to the rope, and we're gonna get through this thing. And so that's what I did. Yeah, we're definitely both hurting afterwards.
So you guys actually run with? Do you guys run with the tether attached
on some of these things? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Catalina, we run with the tether the whole race, because the tether's not great when you're running and it's super technical. If you're running on like really technical rocks or in the woods, because it can get caught on a branch or something. But if it's more open space, it's nice just to keep it on, because even if you're running, just pulling the one guy in the front, like a slow pull on the back of the other guy, it helps.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Chris has only tried to pull it around my neck to choke me out before. That's the only pulling that.
Yeah, there was this one in Casco Bay. I think it was like the last swim. The current was super strong, and Chipper's leading, and he's not moving anywhere. So I just stand up, and I'm just pulling the tether, just like waiting for him to realize.
Oh, it was
walk,
it was
dude.
the sandbar.
Yeah,
the tide was over the sandbar.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, just walk, dude. It's like you're not moving anywhere. And finally,
I was swimming in place pretty much, and I look over and I just see Chris's legs. He's just kind of walking along, and he's just pulling the tether, like, get up, dude. I'm like, okay.
I do remember that part. That's so funny. I do remember that part of Casco Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, we were so done with swimming. We're like, oh, I hope the tide's out so we can just run across this. And sure enough, no, we had to swim another bit. But
it's a good race, but there's a lot of swimming there. It's a good race, but man, the swimming there.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome adventure for sure. We found that there was just way more swimming than advertised. So
we were already undercooked to begin with on the advertised swim, and then the bonus yards didn't help us at all. But. So
I agree with you. There was a lot of swimming there, because that was my first race, and we kind of had a little malfunction with our equipment, and I should say more me. And so I definitely felt all the swims. I was not,
So obviously, if you did Casco Bay, the question is, did you guys jump off the dock or what?
Well,
in Casco Bay.
Yeah, like the
Oh no, they reversed the course this year.
Oh,
yeah,
reversed the course. So I actually did it in 2018, and we jumped off the dock, which was epic. But then this last year when Phil and I did it, there wasn't really a dock.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I remember that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, in 2018 we jumped. They did
the reverse.
Dock,
yeah. So we did it with Sean. We did it the year where Sean did it.
Yeah. It's a tough race.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a
so much fun.
Great race. I mean, we finished. We were absolutely blasted. And I was like, first of all, get me a beer. 2, that was so much fun. I want to do it again. And we had been slower than what we expected, but I think that's probably what really hooked us in the sport, that race.
Yeah, it was funny because, Chipper and I train all the time, right? So maybe 3 times a week we're running or something. And, we always have this kind of constant banter going back and forth. And there was one point in that race where we just kind of stopped talking and started just doing work.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny, and that's kind of where I realized it's like, oh well, this is actually, we're good partners because we're working together, we're making sure we're taking care of each other, and getting from A to B, which was important. But we found each other through a triathlon club, and I'm just wondering, San Diego has a pretty big. It's easy to swim and run all the time because the weather's so nice. Did you guys, sounds like, it was sort of Andy and Sean that kind of brought everyone together, but where do you see, if someone just came up to you and they're like, I'm trying to find a partner to do swim run, like what advice would you give them?
I would say, I would look at a track, like you said, the triathlon clubs. I mean, I feel like the sport's getting to the point where a lot of people have heard of it. So, trying to find someone of a similar level to you that's excited to learn about it and give it a try, and then asking them. We've put together a lot of teams. People have emailed us, and Sean actually put me together with my old partner Joe. So there are, I would think, you can ask people in the sport already if anyone knows anyone. It's sort of like
playing matchmaker.
Yeah, it's sort of like dating. It's like introducing people to each other. Try it out. And then listen to podcasts like your podcast, and learn about how to, the equipment, how it works, and go and give it a try.
Yeah, that was great.
Yep.
Great answer. What do you see, and you guys have raced in Europe and in a lot of the Ötillö races, how do you see the sport growing in the United States? What 2 or 3 things do you think would be pretty key for that to see some success, similar to how triathlon had a pretty big explosion, in the past 8 to 6 years in the United States?
So I think it's the equipment. I think just having more access to it, kind of being more available. I know that I'm chatting to a few November project people that have signed up for Catalina, but I know that they're going to be struggling with equipment. So we're kind of trying to, help them out and kind of point them in the right direction. I know there's some stuff that's available online, but not everyone, they don't know that this is better or this is, not going to be as good. So I think just having, I guess, probably more equipment available or maybe like a resource for more equipment as far as like the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, they can feel a little more comfortable as far as, going out and actually doing it and, practicing. So I think more of like what you really need for the, for the sport. And then obviously a lot of kind of like cross advertising, between the triathlon, community, trail running, the people that do, let's say, like Spartan and all these other kind of, in the gym type, exercises, place also. Just kind of going back and forth because, like, I was not a swimmer. I ran and I biked, But just because I kind of fell in love with the sport just by doing it in Mission Bay where you guys did it for the first time, literally on the same course, I'm sure, somewhere. And, I didn't know that you could go travel and do the sport, but I just fell in love with, so just getting more people from other, areas to try it, So, yeah, I think that's how we'll be able to grow the sport. Because the triathlon, community, it's very kind of clean, very neat, very kind of by the rules. Some of those people, they're, they want to kind of a little bit adventurous. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because maybe they do hiking, but it's like, but they love the running and the swimming. So it's like now we have this other thing where it's like if you love, hiking and trails and everything, here's swimrun, and so it's a little more loose, it's a little bit more adventurous, not so much by the books. And so, just kind of cross advertising.
Yeah, we always say that, swimrun is great if you're kind of in your post-triathlon state where, if that aid station isn't exactly where it's supposed to be, you're not going to, have a panic attack or something. But I think it's also a great sport, like you mentioned, sort of Spartan and stuff where, if you're a fit person, if you're a swimmer and a runner doing sort of poly endurance stuff, this is a great way for you to use your fitness in a, sort of a unique, sort of adventurous way. But getting back to gear, so what gear do you guys use?
So we've experimented a lot with gear over the last few years.
We are.
I feel like we're constantly tinkering. I mean, shoes is a big thing. So we've tried a bunch of different shoes. Trying to find the right grip with the right sole that has enough padding for, 50 miles can be pretty tricky. Sort of
that can flow, that can drain.
Yeah,
that can drain. Last year we both landed on the Salomons, which were really
amphibs?
good. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. With the black with the blue on the back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we went with the same thing.
The tough thing about those is when you're doing 50 miles, like the World Championship, I wish the sole was a little thicker because, you're pounding. There's a lot of pounding, so it's nice to have a little bit of sole. So we are experimenting with the Hokas right now, the Hoka ones. I actually used them just before this podcast. I did a swim around La Jolla and used them.
The Speed Goats?
The Speed Goat Evo.
Speed Goats, sorry.
The Speed Goat Evo.
Speed Goats,
Evo.
Evo.
The Evo is, they drain more. Yep, they're yellow. Yep.
I just wore those for I did the North Face 50 in November, and those are the shoes that I wore. And I didn't even think about having them for swim run, so maybe I'll...
Well, they float. I mean, I've been using them. They
float really well.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And that mesh drains pretty well then?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is like the World Championship course, Catalina, you don't need that much grip on your shoes. It's not as technical as some of these other races. So the Salomons, they're very kind of race shoes, very technical. They're great on kind of a little bit of rock maybe, but we use them for the championship because it was misty and it was raining. And on some of those big exposure rocks, those spikes just weren't the best. We should have gone to a little bit smaller spikes and more, padding on the heel. But we're learning, so you really got to kind of see what the course is all about, and bring a few shoes and see if you can,
This is our favorite topic, but so pool buoys. Do you guys use some of those big old pool buoys?
I know you guys love the pool buoys. All your memes are all about pool buoys.
Dude,
I love it.
Let me tell you. I mean,
I love it.
It's kind of just like running joke for us, but like we've gotten comments, people being like, "Dude, what's up with the pool buoys, man? You guys are like, you got to take it easy." We've only scratched the surface on pool buoy memes.
You guys are obviously using them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're big pool buoy guys.
Okay.
We had a whole DIY session one night, and but I know they have the big, I call them like the Euro buoy. It's like 2 or 3 glued on each other, and they're wearing it on their backs or something. I mean, there's that, and then they kind of have the pontoon style with the almost 2 tubes, and then your traditional, or what you think of your normal swim pool buoy. What camp do you guys land in?
Well, it's interesting. It's a good question because when I first started off, none of us used pool buoys. Andy and me and all of us were like, nah, you don't need those. They're a huge hassle, running around with a pool buoy. And then I guess one of us tried it on training or race, and everyone was like, okay, you got to use them. They make a huge difference. And then we've noticed in the sport, guys have gone bigger and bigger. And now they've obviously restricted the size of the pool buoy. So you can't have like a, massive pool buoy between your legs. But, the best thing that can help you float, I mean, it definitely keeps you up in the water. It makes a huge difference. So we've been using the Arc ones, which are really good, which, we think are super high quality.
It's a beautiful pool buoy.
Yeah.
It is a good looking pool buoy.
Yeah, it is.
And it's the perfect size. Although at the World Championship, I did see people use the Arc double. I mean, they glued 2 of them together. So
Jesus.
Yeah, exactly, right? But they for sure help. I mean, it brings your feet and heels out of the water. And, I mean, then you kind of just keep your head down and then just, use your arms, and you're just able just to go so much faster. The guy from Slow Twitch, I forgot his name, but he runs Slow Twitch.
Dan?
He did a whole pool buoy. I'm sorry?
Dan Emfield or Herbert?
Herbert.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because when we were at the race in Washington, Orcas Island, he was talking about, he was talking about that he did this whole crazy test with pool buoys, and he did the double glued, and he did all of them, and he said it shaved a lot of seconds off his time in swimming. And so, and that kind of reassured me that, like, pool buoys are good, and obviously if you can go bigger, and go for it, because he did a really good test, and he's like, it for sure helps. The bigger, the better. So there's a reason why Ötillö, restricted the size, because
they help.
You do get an advantage. Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah.
Right, and then if someone's gluing 2 together, then some team's gonna go, shit, why not do 3? And then it's like an arms race.
It's an arms race. Yeah.
Pool buoy race. Well, I have a whole new idea for memes coming down now.
I was just about to say, I'll take the credit for that now.
Yeah, we'll be sure to tag you. Yeah, you got it. Are you guys using the shin guards or the Shin Floaties at all? We use those in Casco Bay. And if it's a pretty technical run, I could see that being helpful from sticks and stuff on the trail. But if it's not too technical, what are your thoughts?
We've been using, I use the long Ötillö socks, the tight socks, just because it helps my calves and sort of maybe adds a bit of warmth. We haven't tried the actual floaties on your shins or anything. Mm-hmm. I tried on the World Championship. I tried these things on my arms because I wore a sleeveless wetsuit, but they kept coming off, and sometimes the less gear. You don't want too much gear because you end up hacking around with the whole race, and it takes your mind. Yep. Yeah, so with a pool buoy, with a wetsuit and paddles, you've pretty much got enough to worry about.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and if you're using the Salomon shoes, I mean, they're fairly light. With a good pool buoy, you're gonna be floating. But with the Hokas, they float even more.
Wow.
So
you probably don't even need them if you.
I'm gonna try those out next time.
It's better. It really is. It just keep it simple and really know your gear. Literally know how to take off the wetsuit, take off the tether, eyes closed while running. I mean, you got to do practices to where you're looking forward and you're doing everything. You're taking your jersey up, you're taking your swimsuit down. I mean, you really got to know your gear. Keep it simple. Yeah, for sure.
That's a really great point, Philip. So how many workouts a week are you two doing as a team?
We're doing at least between 4 to 5 during the weekday. We do in the mornings about 6:30 to about 8, and then on the weekends we really try to do a swim run practice, or we do a long run, or we do a long swim. So, but for sure, Monday through Friday we're obviously going to the pool, going to the ocean, trail running. So sometimes we throw in a bike. Tuesdays we do stairs. It's mostly in the mornings for about an hour.
Gotcha.
Kind of hit
and then so it sounds like once a week you're doing a swim run specific workout where you're doing some transitions. You're doing a swim and then a 2K, 3K run and then doing a swim or something like that.
Yeah, at least once a week. We're pretty lucky down here. We've got a good little crew and we work out together. Most mornings or at least 4 or 5 times a week we'll get together, work out, and we mix it up. Sometimes we'll just do an ocean swim. Sometimes we'll mix in a little swim run. And then we always do like a breakfast afterwards, some good banter. It's always a good way to start the day.
Sounds like a good time for sure.
It's a great time. If you guys are ever down here, definitely join us. We have some good laughs and good adventures. And then like the weekend we'll try to do like a 2 or 3 hour swim run. If everyone's in town or a few of us are, and it's always good fun. La Jolla's a great. Like I just did one before I came to talk to you guys with Andy. And the sun is coming up, water's beautiful. There was some pretty crazy tides and currents, which made it fun. And surfers swimming between surfers, and
wow, nice.
Crazy people doing yoga on the rocks. And it's a good way to start the day.
We just have seals up here to worry about in the bay.
Yeah.
Sean, were you actually up here in Aquatic Park this week, right?
I was, yeah. I came up for business on Thursday and Friday, and then did a little swim Friday morning, which was slightly chilly, but beautiful.
Yeah, that's our go-to spot, that Aquatic Park area that I believe you posted on Instagram or something. Swimrun Monks on Instagram.
Yeah, we should do a little. I come up there quite often for business, so I'd love to swim with you boys. It would be.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, great.
It's always a highlight.
We didn't touch on the wetsuits
awesome.
yet. So what are you guys choosing for wetsuits, and have you experimented much with that? Are you going long sleeve, short sleeve, sleeveless?
So we've experimented quite a bit with wetsuits as well. We since we a little bit bigger guys maybe, we actually like the cold water. So we've always pretty much done like sleeveless like cutaway wetsuits where your arms are free, because I feel like I heat up on the runs. I heat up hugely, so I can't have a too thick wetsuit. So we've sort of started with Synergy. I tried the Arc suit a number of times. Then for the World Championship, I used this like O'Neill. It was like a diving 2 mil suit, which was probably not warm enough, but it was good to run in.
Interesting.
Right, because if you're running a half marathon, I guess you don't want 6 mils of neoprene for too long. That would cook you.
Your hips take a beating. Like when I did the World Championship the first time in 2018, and I had the Synergy suit, my hips on Orno it's like a rubber bands around your hips for 45 miles. So you want something that's stretchy. I mean, the new suits they're making these days are, they change the thickness in different areas. Like the Arc suits are really thin around the hips and legs, and then thicker on the chest.
I've noticed Roca doing the same thing as well. Have you got a chance to try that suit out?
I haven't. No, I've seen it. Looks like a great suit. I'd love to have a try. I haven't tried it yet.
And Philip, what are you going with?
So I kind of I've been with using Synergy sleeveless suit. It's something that Andy gave me, so I like it because I really need sleeveless. I don't like sleeves. I just think it just kind of restricts my swimming. But Synergy, they're definitely making a suit specifically for swim run. We kind of had a few prototypes sent to Andy, and so we all tried them and we gave him some feedback. So I think that's a suit that they're really listening to the swim run community, because they're sending to a few different people and we're all giving our feedback. And I mean, they're really spending the time and energy and money to build a really good swim run suit, with the pocket in the back, with the more flexible hips, and kind of up top, it's not going to be so restrictive on the neck and, giving you rashes. So they got a really good product coming out soon. So you should definitely, look into that. Yeah.
So for everyone that's listening, we'll make sure to link these in the show notes
Yep.
as much as we can find so that people can check them out. Well, you guys have a pretty stacked race schedule for this year. Sounds like, you've done a bunch of races. You guys just gearing up for the World Championship. Is that everything you're doing, sort of building towards that?
Yeah,
we are. Yeah. And
it's
we'll put our name, in the lottery. And so hopefully we get picked, that we get a chance to do the World Championship. So that's the goal.
Yeah, the World Championship is always fun to work towards because it's like you think about it the whole year because it's such a big race and so challenging and just it's like a mental mountain, and it's something that you sort of think about most of the year. We trained months in advance last year for it. The first year I got in like 2 weeks before, so I couldn't really prepare as much, which was pretty tough. But it's something that you really got to get your head around, and you got to put the time in, time on the feet, time in the water, because it's a long day out there.
Yeah, there's no way to fake that.
Yeah, you can't fake that much work. Awesome.
No.
Well,
what really helped us on it was always eating at the aid stations. Just you got to eat at the aid stations because you're swimming, you're running. I mean, we were kind of bogging at the beginning of that World Championship, and as soon as we realized we got to eat more, it just became a little more easier. You'd be surprised. Even if you don't want to eat, you got to eat and drink.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Same as Catalina is like anyone doing the race, definitely fuel up on the aid stations, even if you're not feeling hungry, because body's burning so many calories in the water, keeping warm, and the wetsuit up the hills.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nice.
Because when it's too late, it's already too late. So don't get to that point.
When it's too late,
serious.
it's too late. I love it.
We might have to put that on a bumper sticker for you guys.
Yeah, that's our next T-shirt. Great. Well, I think we might see you at a few races this year. I think our schedules are synchronized at least at some point. But we really appreciate you guys coming on our podcast and chatting with us and sharing your wealth of experience on both swim run in general as well as the Catalina course.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to meet you
very
guys.
much.
Sweet. Yeah,
Look
we'll
forward
see
to working
you.
out together.
Yeah, we'll definitely make that happen.
We'll grab a beer down in Catalina where I'm staying on the island, Chris and I.
Yeah.
We'll grab a beer with you on Sunday if you're around.
We definitely will.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
For
Thanks,
sure.
guys. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
thank you.
rest of the day.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for listening to the Low Tide Boys, a swim run podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review if you're so inclined.
You can also sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. Check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. And if you have any questions or suggestions, send us an email to lowtideboys@gmail.com.
Yes, we'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our intro and outro music, and of course our wives for their ever-loving support, tolerance of our hobbies, podcast, and endurance activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. And until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
And then go for a run.
And another swim, most likely.
Probably another run for sure.
Yep. And we'll just
more
keep
swimming,
it going.
just keep going.
Yep. Don't stop.
Don't
Won't
stop. Don't stop, won't stop.